The Gatekeeper, Master of Parallel Realities, by David Rousseau. Chapter 1. The Gatekeeper's Domain. There is no sky in the place between worlds. No floor, no walls, no sound, only the sensation of stillness stretched over eternity. It is a realm unbound by gravity or time, lit not by stars, but by the shimmer of passing realities, flickering like candle flames beyond the veil of glass. And at the center of it all, the Gatekeeper waits, neither man nor woman, neither kind nor cruel. The Gatekeeper does not speak unless spoken to. They are robed in shifting cloth that reflects the colors of dying dreams, and their eyes, when they choose to open them, contain entire galaxies. They do not judge, they remember, they decide. Today, a ripple spreads across the void. A figure stumbles through the nothing, breathing hard as if air still mattered. She is young, her clothes torn and dust-covered, her eyes bloodshot with grief. Her name is Leela, and she is not supposed to be here, not yet. But she has found a way, or perhaps the Gatekeeper allowed it. She drops to her knees before the threshold, a wide, ancient door of black stone, carved with languages from 1,000 civilizations that never met. It does not open, not yet, please. Leela whispers. I know what this place is. I know what you are. The Gatekeeper says nothing, but their presence thickens, a weight pressing gently on the back of her mind. My world is gone, she says. It's dying, choked with smoke, flooded with water, poisoned by greed. I don't want to die with it. There has to be a version where it's better. Where I'm better. She looks up, her voice trembling. You let people shift. I've read about it. You've let them before. Finally, the Gatekeeper speaks, not aloud, but in a voice that resonates behind her heartbeat. And what will you leave behind, Leela? What version of yourself are you willing to bury in order to become another? Leela swallows. She doesn't know the answer. The door does not open, but it does not vanish, either, and the Gatekeeper waits. Chapter 2. The Boy Who Forgot to Die. Max stood at the edge of nothing, barefoot and breathless, staring into the vastness where realities branch like veins in a leaf. He was 17, with eyes too sharp for someone who no longer existed. In the world he came from, he had died on a cold October evening, slick road. Too much speed, a car folded like paper. The news said it was quick. His mother said it was peaceful. But Max didn't remember peace. What he remembered was waking up somewhere else in the dark. A place beyond endings, a place between. And then he remembered the stories. Whispers about the Gatekeeper. Show yourself, Max said, voice cracking as if it had forgotten how to speak. You're real. I know you're real. The void stirred, a presence like wind without breath passed through him. Then came the voice, not from outside, but inside his ribs, behind his eyes. You were meant to be a memory. Max clenched his fists. But I'm not. I know there's another version of me, a version that lived. He walks, breathes, laughs. He kissed Sarah Bennett under the bleachers and didn't die in that crash. I want his life. A pause. The Gatekeeper emerged not as a figure, but a shifting silhouette of starlight and shadow. No face, no form, just focus. He is not you. He never knew death. You carry it with you now. I don't care, Max snapped. I'm here. That should mean something. Let me in. A portal shimmered before him, a fractured window showing the other Max, alive and whole, tossing a football in a sunlit park. So close, so easy to step into, to take his place. You must forget that you ever died, the Gatekeeper said. You must become the light completely. Do you understand? Max hesitated. To forget the death meant forgetting what he had learned inside it. The quiet, the pain, the weight of what it meant to lose everything. Could he really become someone else? Or would he haunt the life he stole? The gate pulsed. Open, but waiting. Max took a step forward, uncertain if he was returning to life or walking into another death, and the Gatekeeper watched. Chapter 3. The One Who Remembers All Lives. Omar did not arrive with panic or begging. He came quietly, worn, deliberate like a man who had long since accepted madness as his shadow. He stood in the in-between, blinking beneath a lightless sky that shimmered with the bleed of parallel worlds. Around him, echoes flickered. Lives, his lives. One version of Omar was a surgeon, hands trembling with adrenaline. Another was homeless, huddled beneath a bridge. One was rich, cruel, and clean-shaven. Another raised goats in silence on a mountainside. He remembered all of them. I needed to stop, he said. The gatekeeper appeared slowly this time, like a thought half-formed. They did not speak. I was born into one life, but I've seen them all. Felt every joy, every heartbreak, every damnation. I remember holding my mother's hand in 26 different deaths. I remember killing a man in 6. Loving one woman in 9, failing her in 5. I even remember lives where I was never born at all. The gatekeeper's form drifted, pulling in the fragments around Omar, reflections of Omar's faceholder. Younger, smiling, screaming shimmered in the air like ghosts. Omar dropped to his knees. You're the only one who can make it quiet. Erase them, please. I can't tell who I am anymore. The gatekeeper spoke, their voice as steady and vast as gravity. To erase them would be to erase yourself. Then do it, Omar whispered. Or, the gatekeeper continued, you may confront them. All of them. You may step into each self, one by one, and speak the truths none of them dared to face. You may become not a fragment, but a whole. Omar's breath caught. Is that even possible? The gatekeeper did not answer. Instead, the veil parted and thousands of doors appeared around him, each marked with a single version of his name. The void stirred behind him, soft and cold. Dissolution waited. So did reckoning. One step forward, become one with the emptiness, and forget. One step inward, confront every version of himself that ever lived. Omar closed his eyes and chose the long road. Chapter 4, Mirror Eden. The air in Claire's world had stopped tasting like air years ago. It was gray now, metallic, scorched, and thin. The trees were bone white skeletons along highways. Oceans had risen, cities had sunk, and hope had long since dried up with the last true rain. So, when Claire found the gate, it didn't feel like magic. It felt like inevitability. She stood before the gatekeeper, her skin blistered from sunstorms, her breath shallow. She had no illusions left, only a simple plea. Anywhere but here, she said. The gatekeeper silent, as always, opened a doorway with a thought. Through it, Claire saw an earth untouched by ruin, emerald forests, wide rivers that shimmered, children playing under soft blue skies, crops growing without poison, homes built in harmony, no smoke, no war, no desperation. It was beautiful, unbelievably beautiful. Is this real? Claire asked. It is real, the gatekeeper replied. But it is not without cost. She didn't ask what that meant. She didn't want to know. She stepped through. The new world welcomed her like a long-forgotten dream. Her lungs filled, her skin healed. People smiled without suspicion. They offered food, shelter, community. No one asked where she'd come from. They simply said, "You're home now." For a while, Claire forgot the warning, until the mirror came. Every citizen of this Eden was paired with a reflection. A perfect twin who lived just out of reach across a glimmering field, on the other side of a mirrored lake. Claire watched her reflection eat the same meals, speak the same words, even laugh in perfect unison. But then it started to diverge. The reflection grew more radiant, more graceful, more admired. People began to turn toward the mirror, praising it instead of her. When Claire cried, her reflection smiled. When she screamed, it stayed silent. The perfection was real, but it wasn't hers. It belonged to the version of herself who had earned this place, and Claire was only a shadow. She ran back to the gate, breathless and shaking. But the gate was gone. The gatekeeper watched from beyond, unseen. You were warned, the voice whispered. In paradise, your flaws cast the longest shadow, and the mirror smiled. Chapter 5, The Version That Won. His name was Malcolm Crane, once a rising star. now a disgraced politician unraveling at the edge of obscurity. The headlines had turned on him like wolves. Crane crumbles in final debate. Scandal ends career. The fall of a future president. But Malcolm didn't believe in failure. Not really. He believed in correction. He believed there had to be a version of the world where the vote turned his way, where the media loved him, where the people listened, where he stood behind the podium on Inauguration Day, hand on the Bible, the anthem rising with his name. He found the gatekeeper the same way all desperate men do, with ambition that burned brighter than shame. "I know who you are," Malcolm said, chin high. "And I know what you guard." The gatekeeper appeared without fanfare, a stillness in human shape. No face, no eyes, just presence. "I want entry to the timeline where I won," Malcolm demanded. "I deserve it." The gatekeeper said nothing at first. Then, a single word rippled through the air: deserve. "I had the better plan," Malcolm insisted. "I had the numbers, the support. That other version of me, he made it work. I want what's mine." The gatekeeper stepped aside. The doorway opened. Malcolm saw it, the motorcade, the crowd. The flash of cameras, his face on banners. His voice echoing through chambers of power, the world where he'd won. And the man standing at the center of it, Malcolm Crane, polished and perfect, flanked by advisors who admired him. He stepped through, breath caught in his throat. But behind the success, behind the applause, something else lurked. Whispers, regrets, a war authorized, promises broken, families displaced by policies he no longer remembered making. For every cheer, a cry; for every victory, a cost. And then he saw himself standing in a mirror. The winner, smiling, empty. The gatekeeper's voice echoed one last time. In one world, your ego rose. In another, your soul fell. Both cannot remain. The Malcolm that entered was not the one who stayed, and the version that one wondered, just for a moment, what he had lost to stand there. Chapter 6. The Forbidden Shift. Joel arrived not with rage, but calculation. He had mapped the frequency of quantum interference, modeled the mathematics of alternate timelines, and decoded the myths of the gatekeeper buried in ancient scripts and abandoned labs. He had studied the science of shifting for decades until it became religion, and it was all for her, Lena, his wife, his anchor. Dead now for 7 years, lost in a lab fire triggered by a malfunction he still couldn't explain. But he'd run the simulations. 1,000 timelines existed where the fire didn't happen. 100 where she lived and they grew old together. 1, at least, where he saved her. Joel stepped into the threshold, gaunt and trembling, but steady in purpose. "I know what this is," he said to the void. "I know who you are." The gatekeeper appeared, vast and silent. "I'm not here by accident," Joel continued. "I built my way here. I earned this." "There is no earning," the gatekeeper said. "Only arrival." "I want to shift," Joel said, "to the version of my life where Lena is alive." A long silence followed. Then, for the first time in 1,000 years, the gatekeeper shook their head. "No." Joel stepped back. "What do you mean, no?" "You've opened doors for people who asked for less. Others seek truth, redemption, becoming. You seek erasure." Joel's fists tightened. "I want to save her. You want to forget you killed her." The words hit like a physical blow. Joel staggered. "I didn't." But the gatekeeper showed him, timelines branching, choices diverging. In one, he checked the safety protocols. In one, he canceled the trial run. In one, he wasn't late to the lab that morning, but not in his. "You knew," the gatekeeper said, "and you ignored it." Joel fell to his knees. "Please, just one reality. Just one where I didn't fail her." The gatekeeper's voice softened not in kindness, but in finality. "Some doors remain locked to protect what's left of you." And with that, the gatekeeper turned. Joel was left in the dark, and the shift never came. Chapter 7. The Universe Without Pain. I was only 12 when she found the gate. Her bones ached with every breath. Her skin flared with invisible fire. Doctors had names for it: rare, degenerative, incurable. They gave her pills, tubes, numbers, but no one gave her what she really wanted, a morning without pain, except the gatekeeper. She stood before them, a small figure wrapped in a hospital gown, for trailing behind her like a forgotten leash. Yet her eyes held no fear, only the steady weight of someone who had learned too much, too soon. "You're real," she whispered. The gatekeeper, vast and still as ever, said nothing. "I didn't come here to die, Emmy," I said. "I came to choose." A portal shimmered open beside her, soft golden light spilling through, warm and impossibly quiet. On the other side, a girl who looked just like her, dancing barefoot through green fields, laughing without pain. Her limbs moved freely, her eyes sparkled with mischief. She was healthy, whole. "She's me, isn't she, Emmy?" I asked. "She is you, untouched," the gatekeeper replied. "A virgin born without suffering." Emmy, I stared for a long time. The wind from that perfect world kissed her face. It smelled like lavender and honey. "Will I remember?" she asked quietly. "If I go there, will I remember what it was like to be this me?" "No," said the gatekeeper. "The pain will be gone entirely. So will the strength that grew inside it." Emmy, I swallowed. "So I'll forget how to be brave." "You'll never need to be brave again." That should have been comforting, but it wasn't. She turned back to the portal, watching the other her spin in sunlight. "I don't want to hurt any more," she said. "But if I forget who I became through the hurting, is that really me at all?" The gatekeeper said nothing. "Only watch. Emmy." I stood there, 12 years old and infinite, and realized this wasn't a cure. It was a trade, and she could only choose once. Chapter 8, Shift Loop. He arrived without a name, not because he had forgotten it, because he had too many. In one life, he was Daniel, in another, Ari. In yet another, he'd abandoned names. He arrived without a name, and called himself only the Traveler. He had shifted through realities so many times that the concept of home was now meaningless. He had loved 6 different wives, buried for different fathers, won 3 Nobel Prizes, and died 9 times in as many worlds. Each time he jumped, he had left something behind, a piece of memory, a thread of identity, a truth he hadn't wanted to face. Now, he didn't know which version of himself was real, or if he had ever been real at all. The gatekeeper waited for him as if they'd known he would eventually return. "I don't know who I am anymore," the man said, eyes flickering with the weight of hundreds of lives. "They're all me, and none of them are." The gatekeeper's presence deepened. "You have fractured yourself chasing better versions. You did not heal, you multiplied your wounds. I thought that's what the shifts were for," the man whispered. "To find a life where I finally got it right. And how many did you abandon to do so?" the gatekeeper asked. He didn't answer. He couldn't. A mirror appeared before him, tall, cold, and rippling like water. Inside it, reflections, hundreds of versions of his face. Some young, some scarred, some smiling, some screaming. None of them aligned. "I don't know which one to choose," he said. "Then choose only one," the gatekeeper replied. "Return to a single thread. Accept it, scars and all. Or dissolve here, in the space between, where nothing is ever wrong but nothing is ever real." The in-between offered peace. No pain, no memory, just quiet. But the man looked once more into the mirror and picked the face that was tired, older, and honest. "I'll go back," he said, "even if it hurts." The mirror shimmered. The fragments pulled together, and the gatekeeper, silently, allowed oneself to finally stay. Chapter 9. The gatekeeper was once human, long before the robes of shifting light, before the voice that spoke inside minds, before the title whispered across dimensions. Gatekeeper, he had another name. He was once human. He, too, had stood at the edge of a broken life. A man torn by regret, failure clinging to him like smoke. He had searched for the doorway between realities, not out of wonder, but desperation. His hands had trembled when he asked to shift. His voice had cracked with hope, and the gate had answered. He didn't just choose a better world, he chose the best one, the perfect life. In that timeline, every choice he ever feared making had been made correctly. He had the love he lost, the family that never fell apart, the mind that never betrayed him, the success he always chased, and yet, he did not feel joy, because perfection, he learned, comes with a price. There is nothing left to change, nothing to fight for. No struggle, no growth, no friction that makes meaning. Perfection is smooth. And smooth, he realized too late, is sterile. He tried to leave, but the gate only opens once in that direction, so he remained until he was no longer just one man. Time thinned around him, his mind stretched across realities. He felt the pull of others like echoes in a canyon, all seeking what he had once sought, and the gate needed a keeper, and the gate needed a keeper. Now, he opens paths not to grant salvation, but to witness the choices others make. Not to control, but to feel less alone. Each traveler reminds him of what it meant to yearn, to fall, to hope, to bleed. Things he can no longer do. He watches them with care, with quiet longing, because deep within the endless stillness, the gatekeeper remembers what it felt like to be afraid, to stand at the door and wonder if a different life might save you. And he wonders still if anyone will ever come, not to ask for a shift, but to free him. Chapter 10, The Key of Choosing. The void was quieter this time. Leela returned, not the frightened girl who had begged for escape, but someone forged by the multiverse itself. She carried scars invisible to the eye, lessons from lives lived and lost, hopes shattered and rebuilt. She no longer knelt at the gatekeeper's feet, begging for passage. Instead, she stood tall, eyes steady with a new purpose. I don't want to shift anymore, she said. The gatekeeper's presence pulsed with curiosity. Then why have you come? To create, Leela answered. Not to find another world, but to make one. To build a timeline not ruled by chance or pain, but by choice. For the first time in eternity, the gatekeeper regarded a traveler not as a supplicant, but as a partner. Slowly, the gatekeeper extended a slender hand, palm open, resting on it a shimmering key that seemed to hum with quiet power. This is the key of choosing, the gatekeeper said. It has never been given before. Leela's fingers closed around the key. It was weighty with responsibility, luminous with potential. The multiverse is infinite, the gatekeeper continued. Yet all paths bend to the will of those who choose. Until now, others have only stepped through doors already open. But you may shape what lies beyond. Leela looked beyond the gate, not at a world waiting to be entered, but at a canvas waiting to be painted. I understand, she whispered. To create a timeline was to wield creation itself, to embrace both light and shadow, joy and sacrifice, love and loss. It was a power that could build or unravel, heal or destroy. The gatekeeper nodded. The key does not promise perfection, they said. Only the courage to decide. Leela took a deep breath, stepping forward not into another world, but toward the birth of a new one. And the gatekeeper watched, finally not alone.